Okay, so our first speaker of the session is Abdus Sami Akanda, which is a research assistant at the Khulna University in Bangladesh. The title of the talk is Influence of Shape Anisotropy on Magnetization Reversal Induced by Non-Linear Down-Chirp Poles. Without any other thing, please, Abdus, you have the floor, share your screen, and thank you for contributing to the school.
Thank you so much for this nice introduction. As I have said, the title of my talk is Influence of Shape Anisotropy on Magnetization Reversal Induced by Nonlinear Down-Chirp Pulse. So here is the outline of my talk. First, I will be talking about some previous researches that are related to my research. And then I'll be talking about the motivation for my research, and I'll introduce you to the model and parameters of my research. Then I'll share some research findings that I found, and then I'll give a short conclusion. So in 2014, Kluhertz and Harvey-X published a paper where they used plane polarized microwave field pulse for magnetization reversal. So in their paper, they used linear down-chirp microwave pulse, and they only considered positive frequency, which means that they linearly decrease the frequency of the microwave pulse from a certain frequency to 0. And they only considered uniaxial shapes, and they actually considered only single domains. So as we can see, the microwave field is changing from a positive frequency and became 0. And after the microwave is there no more, the magnetization reversal, the magnetization actually aligning itself along the negative z-axis due to natural damping and the z-axis anisotropy. And in 2018, Professor Mohammad Tariqul Islam, during his PhD, published a paper which is almost similar to that paper. He also used linear down-chirp pulse, and in his paper, the microwave pulse roughly matches the magnetization dynamics. And he also considered uniaxial shapes. So uniaxial shape is like a cubic shape that all the axes have same length. And he also considered a single domain only. So this is the frequency profile in his paper that he used, and the frequency changes linearly from a positive frequency to a negative frequency. And in his paper, you can see here, the magnetization is changing from positive to 0 and became negative. And here, if we look carefully, that there is a mismatch of the microwave pulse and the magnetization dynamics. And here comes the motivation for my research, is that what we have seen that magnetization dynamics is not linear, as we have seen in the previous researches that they used linear down-chirp. And the required external field amplitude in the previous researches were high, and it's not good actually for practical implementation. And we assumed that the shape anisotropy should lower the external field amplitude. So here's the model of my research. This is the famous Landau-Lifshitz-Gilbert equation that we have used in our paper. And we actually solved this equation numerically using an open source micromagnetic simulation package, which is Mumax3. I can see here is an error typo. And the material that we simulated is actually permalloy, which is composed of nickel 80% and iron 20%. The saturation magnetization that we have used in our paper is 10 to the power 6 ampere per meter, and z-axis anisotropy is 0.75 Tesla. And the gyromagnetic ratio that we have used is 1.76 into 10 to the power 11 radian Tesla second per Tesla second, and the exchange stiffness is 13 into 10 to the power minus 12 joule per meter. The Gilbert damping that we have used is 0.01. And in my research, we used nonlinear down-chirp pulse, as we have seen that there is a mismatch for linear case. And we have found that the microwave chirp actually closely matches the magnetization dynamics. And we have used uniaxial shape and biaxial shape for actually applying the shape anisotropy. And we actually consider discretized single domain as And this is the frequency profile that we have used in our paper, and we are only interested in that part, just to that part. After the frequency becomes negative, if not, we stop the microwave field. And if we notice that the microwave field changing from some positive frequency to the negative frequency, and if we notice that the microwave pulse actually closely matches the magnetization dynamics, because as we have seen in the linear case, there is a mismatch of the microwave and the magnetization dynamics. So in my research finding, I have found that the nonlinear downchirp pulse is better than linear downchirp pulse, because nonlinear downchirp pulse switches the magnetization faster than the linear case, and this is only for uniaxial shape. We haven't actually applied yet the shape anisotropy here. And this is the trajectory for linear case, and here we can see that that mismatch that happened here. And this is the case for nonlinear case, the magnetization dynamic profile trajectory actually. So so what I found that nonlinear downchirp pulse induces efficient energy absorption and emission. What does it mean? That when we're actually, let me go to the previous slide. When the magnetization microwave actually matches the magnetization dynamics, for the first portion, it actually the magnetization absorbs energy from the microwave, which allows it to reverse itself. And when it's going to the negative portion, the magnetization actually releases or emit energy. So that's what I have talking about, that efficient magnetization, efficient energy absorption and emission. So here for the linear case, we can see I have plotted here the energy change with respect to time as versus time, and here we can see the change of energy is actually almost stable here, and for this case here also. But for the nonlinear case, we can see that the energy change with time is actually not almost not stable here, which actually says that there is more the energy absorption and emission actually more efficient here. So what we have found more that the linear microwave can reverse magnetization faster in lower fields. So for the higher fields, the linear case and non-linear case almost shows same switching time, but in lower fields, the switching time for linear case actually become high, and for the non-linear case, this is still less than 1 nanosecond here, as you can see. So then we have applied shape anisotropy by increasing. We actually kept the z-axis of the particle constant. We kept it 8 nanometer, and we actually increased the shape of the particle along the x-axis and the y-axis. So here we can I have plotted for various cases, as we are saying here, that for a surface 10 times 10 nanometer square, and for the 10 times 10 nanometer square, we are seeing that red curve here or line. So it is actually faster, and as we have kept on increasing the shape anisotropy, the switching time actually kept on increasing. But for a certain case, we can see here that the switching time actually drops less than 0.4 nanosecond. So what is happening here is that this is the energy profile with respect to the angle of the magnetization. So we can think of the magnetization as a particle that is here, and it is stable here. So what if we want to reverse the magnetization? What we have to do, that we have to move the particle from here to the next stable point, right? So when we're increasing the shape anisotropy, the energy, the lower point of here, it actually starts to increase. And for the case of 22 times 22 nanometer square, we can see that this is the energy profile. And so what's happening here, that it actually requires a very low energy to reverse the magnetization. And so there is a case that we cannot actually go on increasing the shape anisotropy, because what will happen then, that it will be unstable, because then the magnetization can reverse itself using any external field, maybe because of heat or any field that energy it can get. But so what will happen, that the device will be unstable actually. So then we have worked out the frequency band. So the resonant frequency, so what the resonant frequency means, that the magnetization have an intrinsic frequency for of itself, and we want to match that frequency, and the resonant frequency is given by this equation, and here HK is the actually the anisotropy field, effective anisotropy field. And here we have found that here the black line actually indicates the theoretical frequency that we have worked out, and then we actually found out the optimum frequency that shows the lowest switching time. So as we can see that the optimum frequency is much actually lower than the theoretical frequency. And then we have worked out the frequency band, which means that we a range of frequency that shows consistent switching time. So for that, let's say from this frequency to this frequency, for this case, it shows a consistent switching time. So what it does, it's actually helpful for our practical implementation, because when we're actually practically manufacturing a device, it is hard to imitate a certain frequency. But so if we have a certain frequency range, we don't have to actually just focus on one frequency. We can just go, we can just imitate any frequency from that range, and it will show a consistent switching time. And in conclusion, we can say that nonlinear microwave fields actually induce better reversal, and shape anisotropy actually allows us low energy reversal, and resonant frequencies are actually lowered, as we have seen in the last slide, and the frequency band actually helps us in realistic application. So I want to introduce to our research Spintronics research group. I am working under the supervision of Dr. Mohammad Tariqul Islam, and we have two collaborators from Hong Kong, Professor Xiangshu Wang and Professor Xiangor Wang. And we have colleagues Mohammad Abu Jafar Pikil, Sharia Sharmin, J.M. Tawfiqul Islam, who are actually master's student. And there's me, and we have Zubaida Karim Juthi, who is also an undergraduate student. And this work was supported by Minister of Education and the Minister of Science and Technology. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Abdus, for this nice talk. Okay, there's no questions for the moment, so I will try. I will have one myself. The anisotropy of the system you simulate is intrinsically out of plane, isn't it? The intrinsic anisotropy is out of plane, and you find easier change of the magnetization with shape anisotropy. Which kind of shape anisotropy do you simulate? I mean, in plane anisotropy by defining some kind of road, or how do you do it?
What we have done, actually, we kept the height of the particle, let's say along the z-axis, we kept it constant. Let's I've told that it was 8 nanometer, and we actually increased the length and the width, like along the x-axis and the z-axis. So it's like a biaxial shape. So we kept on increasing along the x-axis and the z-axis. So so we can think of like the magnetization is like this, and when we are actually pushing it along this axis, so it will like get tilted. So that is the dipolar field actually working against that anisotropy field.
Okay. And so thank you very much again, Abdus, for your nice talk, and keep on with the research. Thank you.
Thank you.